All right, what's up, guys? We got the depressing decline of Call of Duty. What a banger. Let's see this.
It's not a controversial statement to say that Call of Duty has seen better days.
No, it is not a controversial statement. The golden era of COD is not in the future, but in the past. Sadly.
Despite being relatively popular, at least, if you categorize its success by sheer numbers, it doesn't seem to be doing that bad. Warzone is fairly popular.
I mean, I don't know. Like, what were these numbers? What was this? Like Google Trends?
Doing that bad.
Okay, maybe it was Google Trends.
Warzone is fairly popular right now, and it looks like the most recent entry in the franchise, Modern Warfare 3, has been enough to prevent the downward spiral it was caught in with Modern Warfare 2 just last year.
Yeah.
But why did it ever...
But I mean, to my knowledge, when part of the core gameplay is that you have to manage two styles of reticle acceleration in the game. If you're playing on controller, you have reticle acceleration whenever you use your left stick and your right stick. I don't know if that's a feature you can turn on or off or whatever. That's bad game mechanics to me. But they would like to say that it's more realistic. Nobody is playing Call of Duty for the realism, dude. That's a cope.
End up on the ropes to begin with. Well, aside from the infernal attachment to our mortal coils and the finality of the passage of time, which is a roundabout way of saying things get old and less popular, the game is probably the most polarizing first-person shooter on the market right now. On one hand, everybody who plays first-person shooter games has probably played it at some point, and probably really enjoyed playing it too, but then Call of Duty kind of stopped being cool.
Yeah.
At least, unless you were really into its esports scene. And even then, that's still a relatively niche esports scene.
Yeah, I mean, even the stands, like over here, up there, there's no one up here in the stands. They're all like front and center. They can't, this is like an official like LAN tournament. They can't even fill out the whole like little arena place, like whatever this is.
How did Call of Duty go from universally loved to universally hated?
Oh, let's see. There's a ton of things.
We just uploaded a video about Helldivers 2 and feel like that game's ability to commit to a certain creative vision and stick to it was hugely instrumental in its success. But that game...
Oh yeah, Helldivers 2 is awesome. It's a breath of fresh air in terms of the overall like world that they have and the kind of just like over the top like democracy for freedom and all this other shit. Like that kind of vibe I think it's awesome.
Had a relatively small team and a relatively small budget compared to the Call of Duty studios and of course Activision Blizzard. Hopefully this video provides a cautionary tale of the Icarus of first-person shooters. A franchise that soared to great heights, but ultimately got too close to the sun. This is the story of Call of Duty's decline. Call of Duty was unique in the sense that it was able to take multiplayer arcade FPS mechanics.
Oh, he said it himself. Multiplayer arcade FPS mechanics. There is nothing military simulation like about the game. It is arcade. So what does the word arcade imply? I mean, essentially, it's just like fast-paced gameplay. It is like very responsive. It doesn't have to be realistic, and it's fun. That's the core of it. It should be fun.
And sell them at a widespread scale everybody could get behind. The game was well regarded for its immersive storytelling, its single-player component.
Oh yeah, like in the early days of like all the Call of Duties, like people meme on it like, oh, who plays Call of Duty for the story, blah blah blah. It's like, bro, when I was a little kid and they didn't have like online Call of Duty, the ones that came out before the multiplayer, those campaigns went so hard and they were so good. And I still think like a lot of the original Call of Duty campaigns were just good. I mean, yes, they were like Michael Bay-esque in that the story sometimes didn't make the most sense and you're just hopping from like action scene to action scene and it's, you know, you could argue that it was like kind of handholdy the whole time. It just go from point A to point B and you're there. But God dang it! I not every like shooting campaign has to be like the perfect holistically uh, uh, like campaign to end all time. It's like if I just want to ride a ride, let me just ride the ride and have fun with it. It's like riding a roller coaster. The roller coaster is on rails. Yeah, there's gonna be like some loop-de-loops and some swirlies, and like you're gonna go fast, but at the end of the day, you're still getting your hand held, and that's okay.
A lot of people don't know about this franchise is that it at one point tried to make a play for cinematic immersion with
Yes.
famous depictions of events like the Battle of Stalingrad,
Mhm.
wherein the player had to pick up a rifle off of the ground of a fallen soldier,
Oh.
armed only with a clip of ammunition in their hand. The games also featured the Normandy invasion, with the vicious reign of
Oh
MG42.
shit! I remember this. What was this? Was this on original Xbox that this happened, or was it PlayStation? PlayStation 1 or 2? I can't remember, but god dang, I remember like this was like these were some of the first Call of Duties I ever played, and I was like, oh wow, this is pretty cool.
Fire from entrenched.
Yeah, this was also the era of like World War II, like the all the FPSs were stuck in like World War II era, and every like when I was getting like the Game Informer magazines, someone did like an article where there was like they were saying like, oh, are we done with the World War II era? Are we done with this? You know, fighting with like the Thompson submachine gun, the Bar machine gun. What else? Whatever other like World War II weapons, the M1 Grand, and all this other shit. It's like because at this time it was like year after year after year, and it was like World War II, World War II, World War II, World War II, and eventually the genre of FPS, or maybe not FPS, but maybe just at least Call of Duty, like they pulled themselves out of it. And I mean, that's fine.
Positions right in front of you. It actually wasn't until Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare when it took a decisive setting difference,
Yeah.
putting you in the shoes of a thrilling action movie ride, incorporating political gambles from Middle Eastern warlords to Eastern Bloc crime syndicates.
So good.
Artistic depth and scope from the sound effects to the environments and the voice acting all played a role in making creative, interactive narratives.
Right. What the hell kind of name is Soap, eh? How a Muppet like you pass selection?
A Muppet.
And this is sort of where the culture of the game solidified. It solidified itself with a pretty robust single-player level design
Oh, yeah.
theory showcase. Call of
Like every level was so different. There were probably like a couple levels where there was like a little bit of overlap, but for the most part, almost every level completely different. There's like you got like the stealth one where like you're the ghillie sniper dude and you gotta like stealth throughout the whole mission. There's this like ship one with all the containers, you gotta like sneak around and like, or if you just go like loud, you know, you got everybody like clamoring onto you. Well, what else? You had like I don't know. There's just so many unique levels in this game.
Call of Duty 4 was well known for a couple of missions, one of which put you in the hands of the guns on a titanically destructive AC-130
Oh yeah, this one was
gunship.
so good.
Distance from the carnage and the laws of physics taken into account. The time it takes for the shells to reach their target while you wait.
Yeah.
Silently, you see explosions, gunfire, and the casual nature of the crew members as they command something that seems akin to an ominous dragon just looming above in the sky.
Yeah.
Wolf, are we going to commandeer civilian
Bro, when I was a little kid and I first played this level, I think it took me like 10 or 20 tries to like get it because I didn't understand that you had to protect these like little trucks, and then from just getting shot from people like on the side of the road and whatnot. I was like, what the heck? You know, my little kid brain.
transport on the main highway? Cover us.
Ground units are requiring alternate transport at this time. But that guy's
And you know what? These guys, it was like standard Call of Duty AI. No matter how close the enemy got, these motherfuckers had stormtrooper aim. All right, they'd just sit in there and go brr, 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 and like the dude will be like taking cover behind this little tree right here. Could not hit him. They could not defend themselves at all. That was so infuriating.
pissed. It's a nice truck. Nah, he's scared shitless.
You also had a mission that featured crawling on your stomach behind enemy lines in a ghillie suit. To
Yeah.
stop an illegal arms deal between bitter actors on behalf of the Soviet Union's old, quite literal fallout. It was not irrelevant in popularizing the radioactive mythos of the Ukrainian city of Pripyat to an entire...
Bro, when I watched the video of like the level designer that designed this level, he was like, it was amazing how much, what do you call it? Of like how by like winging it by the seat of his pants, he like did this level because the game had no stealth mechanics in it, so he pretty much just had to like invent them or whatever by like narrowing their their eye cone from where they could see, and like the distance, cutting it shorter to make it like more realistic, or not realistic, but like more believable that the dude is a, what do you call it? That like he can't see you since you're like crouching.
Entire generation of young men and boys. Pripyat, an almost
This is like my favorite level, dude.
supernaturally eerie feeling ghost town that acts as a sort of time capsule into the Soviet culture of the 80s. Just Captain McMillan, your lead on this op.
Oh, in this part, this was so crazy. Bro, when I first played the game and this moment happened, I was like, no fucking shot that this is real. I was like, this is so fucking cool. Still did not want to join the military.
Ended up becoming a notable character in just one mission out of the entire game.
Stay warm. He's mine.
Oi, Susie.
That's how it's done.
The sequel offered dramatic visuals like the White House aflame from Russian invasion. Call of Duty Black Ops would trek around the globe, evoking the mood of old-school Cold War spy thrillers.
Oh, yeah.
Even taking nods from a previous installment in the timeline that took a crack at World War II once more. Unique that time around for offering a focus on the Pacific Front, as U.S. Marines are face-to-face with Japanese soldiers running straight towards you from
Oh,
a
was this Black Ops 1?
concealed jungle landscape. The sweltering heat gleaming through dense, thick tree lines, screaming in
Booby
rage
trap.
with bayonets attached to their rifles. Then the next minute, you would be sniping and scurrying your way through war-torn Stalingrad again, with a Soviet sergeant played by none other than Gary Oldman, who would go on to win an Academy Award for
Oh,
his
this part was
portrayal
cool,
of
too.
Winston Churchill in the film Darkest Hour.
For 3 days, I have hunted him. For 3 days, luck alone has saved his wretched life.
My name is Victor Reznor. And I will have my revenge! You cannot reason with a tiger when your head is in its mouth!
Over
Damn.
time,
That's some good ass acting and good ass voice acting. That's crazy.
Call of Duty developed a shared and loved culture and cast of characters.
Oh, yeah.
But you came for the campaign and stayed for the multiplayer.
Yeah.
While one of these things
This was in the early days of Call of Duty when its multiplayer wasn't like well established. You know, you got to like establish yourself of at least having like a good core game mechanics, a decent multiplayer, and then, like he said, come for the campaign and then stay for the multiplayer afterwards. It wasn't until afterwards that people were like, oh, people's like minds started shifting from like, oh, Call of Duty's about multiplayer and no one gives a shit about the campaign. It's like, bro, all these early Call of Duty campaigns were fucking so good.
was what made Call of Duty a cultural staple. The other was what made it an exercise in multiplayer FPS design. Call of Duty was responsible for create a class.
Yeah.
And that longevity has ramifications throughout the industry to this day. Just about any shooter game made in 2024 will have some kind of modularity involved in terms of what stuff you want to bring into the battlefield.
Yep. Almost all FPSs have some form of loadout, you know, with abilities, things you can do besides shooting your gun and throwing grenades.
But Create a Class has almost created an FPS ocean that we've been swimming in for many years.
Yep.
And we're more or less
There hasn't been a lot of evolution of the core game loop of take reticle, put it on guy, shoot guy. Like some games have been able to like push the boundaries. I mean, if you want to look for like the evolution of like the FPSs, I mean, like some games have like done like a good job of adding shit. I would probably say like Doom does Doom Eternal, whatever. That game is like really, really fun to play. What else? There's a ton. I'm just not thinking like off the top of my head, but like a lot of shooter roguelikes do a good job of. Oh, Borderlands. Borderlands was a fucking good one. What else? But I was originally, it's like, if you want to have like some sort of like, I don't know, evolution in the, I don't know, the core game loop of shooting, I would say you, outside of like roguelikes, I mean, it's not going to be that, I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It's you're not going to get a lot of change.
Fish, who've forgotten we're in water. Call of Duty was a victim of its own success in some ways. It developed a framework for which many FPS games were built on, but it couldn't really tack one way or the other without a huge amount of pushback. It was a
Battlefield had to push the envelope with the vehicle combat, the ballistics of bullets, and the destruction of buildings and whatnot. So again, pushing the FPS genre and adding more things, a good thing.
fish that could grow wings, but couldn't breathe air.
True.
Call of Duty was responsible for innovating arcade multiplayer FPS. Quick time to kill,
Again, he says it again. Arcade multiplayer.
fast-paced movement, and personalization was the name of the game. But the game certainly looks, feels, and plays very differently now
Yep.
to then. Obviously, we can have a full separate conversation about the artistic side of things, and that
Yeah.
will certainly be elaborated on.
I mean, as far as like artistic vision of Call of Duty, it was always like, I don't know, semi-realistic. It was never like fully realistic. I mean, yeah, you could kind of get like pretty good like cutscenes sometimes with like the later titles and whatnot, but it wasn't stylized. But it wasn't stylized in that, like, if you look at like Borderlands or something, or World of Warcraft, like those graphics are very stylized and timeless in that you can just pick them up, and even though the games are older, you can still play the games because the graphics aren't meant to be realistic. Games that come out with, what do you call it, with quote unquote realistic graphics at the time are good at the time. It's only until like years later that you start to see a game's at least like graphical age whenever you like want to go back and like pick the game up. But I mean, for the most part, Call of Duty they haven't really been pushing to like realism. They, like, when you look at a person, you still know it's a video game. I don't think it's reached that uncanny valley point where it's like, oh shit, they're like pushing realism, but I still know it's a video game.
But before we do that, it's important to contextualize that this was still FPS game design in its childhood. Not quite its infancy, but we were still kind of coming to grips with what we could make an FPS game do at scale and at mass market. The point is, the game had large scale and breadth in terms of the sandbox and space it constructed. What it had a harder time figuring out was the nuts
was that
and
Black
bolts.
Ops
The
2?
game went through tons of different iterations with Create a Class, and that's usually what made it distinct among each individual title. And from game to game, each Call of Duty sort of had a unique identity due to this. But at a certain point, a new game coming out every year started to get a little bit old.
Oh yeah, we have withstood that content release pattern for, I don't know, what, about 15 years now? Somewhere in there.
At a certain point, you needed to do new things. One example they tried to do was lean more into the movement. This is where the subgenre of so-called movement shooters began to emerge. Now,
Yes, but Call of Duty, I mean, even though this video is the decline of Call of Duty, the only reason these motherfuckers came out with wall running and jetpack boosting was because they saw Titanfall, or like, what was it? No. The main dudes that made Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, and Modern Warfare 2, they left, made their own company, Respawn, and then they came out with Titanfall and Titanfall 2, and later Apex. And the Titanfall movement was all about the jetpack boost. Essentially, like you have like a double jump, and if you like attach yourself to a wall, you regain your double jump, and you can just wall run, jump off, jump again onto another wall, keep going. And I think it was really fun, and I love like the Titanfall like movement system. It's awesome.
Call of Duty was not responsible for the genesis of movement.
But you know, they saw what Titanfall did, and they thought that is what everybody on the FPS market wanted, and they had to come out with their own version of wall running and double jumping. And I didn't play this Call of Duty for whatever reason. I just didn't. I forgot why, but I don't remember how well it was received. I mean, because anytime you have to, but if I were to like try to imagine something, gamers do not like looking up. It's just a fact of the matter. Anytime you incorporate some sort of like verticality in your shooting game where you have to look up, it's just a fact, and you can feel this. It's harder to aim like looking up, because when you look straight up and you move your stick left, it's not left. It kind of moves like in a donut pattern, like above you. And it gets more skewed the more closer to like the absolute vertical axis that you get. So I don't know how well the game was received, but in general, I've heard it both ways. I heard people say, "Oh, I love this Call of Duty with all the wall running, the movement was so fun." And then I've heard it the other way. "I hate this Call of Duty. This is so far from what we've actually wanted. You know, there's no boots on the ground and all this bullshit." It's like, I don't know who to believe.
Shooters. That had been happening in the background for a while. But Call of Duty was so big that it couldn't just ignore this part of the FPS space anymore. However, the game's grappling with this topic did a lot of damage to the brand.
Yeah.
Because it had a hard...
Which is so funny. That it's hilarious to think that when you add movement to an FPS game, you would think it's like, oh, everyone's gonna be moving around way quicker. It's gonna be fun and all this jazz. You know, we got wall running, you got double jumping or jetpack boosting, whatever. You would think that everyone would like it, but I guess it hurt the brand. Honestly, because if Call of Duty was originally like a boots on the ground like arcade shooter, they probably should have stayed with the boots on the ground thing, but I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world to like experiment for like a game or so, to see if that's what their audience likes. I mean, if you wanted to play like a movement shooter, I mean, there were other games in that, you know, Titanfall movement system was way better. If you want a movement shooter, go play Titanfall, you know?
hard time trying to find the right way to do it before they finally just gave up.
They gave up.
Runs on a yearly release cycle. To offload the labor intensity and make sure there's a reasonable timeline of development, different development companies were allocated to individual titles. Another element was introduced to the Call of Duty carousel with the release of Advanced Warfare in 2014, developed by a third player, Sledgehammer Games. The only point at which the public was familiar with Sledgehammer was their involvement with the production of Modern Warfare 3 alongside Infinity Ward. Advanced Warfare was Sledgehammer's first solo project and a concerted, deliberate effort to lean into the game's potential as a movement shooter. In fact, it would be massive for demarcating a hugely controversial Rubicon.
Oh, what's that?
The exoskeleton in Advanced Warfare brings a ton to the table. You got speed and strength and verticality, new movement sets like boost.
Again, gamers do not like looking up. They just don't. And then when you say verticality, if verticality is anywhere in your like selling, in your like pitch, gamers ain't gonna like it.
And dodge and slam.
Me personally, I could give a shit. I enjoy it because I'm on like M&K, like aim up. Oh, it's fucking easy. But when you're when most of your target audience is on controller, it just doesn't judge well, is what I've seen.
The ability to use technology like the augmented reality system and the mag gloves for new ways to climb. I mean, it really, we call it the heart and soul of the advanced soldier, and everything it brings is really a pretty radical new way to play Call of Duty.
the jetpack COD era.
Yeah.
Now,
You know what I wonder? Did the jetpack COD era, did it have crossplay implemented? Like, could you play the jetpack COD era games on M&K? I would imagine these Call of Duties would have been received differently if crossplay was more implemented in these games. Like, you probably would have had the controller people saying verticality sucks and whatnot, but the M&K people probably would have said, "Oh, this feels awesome." Is what my guess would have been, or I'm just completely off base and like they did have crossplay enabled, and even like the M&K bros had fucking issues with this. So I don't know. I would tend to lean on the side of like the former though.
here's the thing. The jetpack shooter era didn't start here, because Titanfall had just released earlier in the spring.
Yeah.
Titanfall was unique in the offering of a new spin on the arcade shooter formula, this time throwing in high-speed jetpacking, wall running, and fast-paced gunplay. What savvy people are surely thinking of is the lineage of Titanfall. It is shared in Call of Duty. Developed by Respawn. Its genesis.
You find out 2 executives are planning to break their contracts, keep the money you gave them, and steal 40 employees. What do? You fire them.
Enshrined by former Call of Duty devs.
Yeah.
Now, Advanced Warfare featured the exosuit. It was designed to wink and nudge in the direction of popular sci-fi movies and TV at the time.
From Elysium to Oblivion to Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah. He just named like the 3 main movies. And I guess they took inspiration from these movies and they're like, let's make a Call of Duty with the fucking exosuit.
The opening kick of the World Cup this year was a paraplegic wearing an exoskeleton. I mean, it's really a remarkable invention of technology today, and as the cornerstone to Call of Duty, it's given us a ton of potential.
Okay, so when you think of a jetpack in a video game, what do you usually think of?
Sometime it go up, sometime it go like fast diagonal. Or maybe you can hold the button and then go like straight up and you can kind of maneuver it.
The first time I played with a jetpack in a shooter game was Star Wars Battlefront.
Oh yeah, it wasn't even this Battlefront. It was what was it, Battlefront 1 or 2 on the original Xbox with like what was he called, like the Dark Trooper, where he had like the dark gray armor and he had like a shotgun. And I think, what was it? You could jump and then you double tap jump and that activated his little jetpack and it just sent you like in a high ass parabola so you could get on like any roof and shit. And I was like, oh my god, that's so fucking good.
No, not.
And surprised, that was a really good like unit in that game.
Not this one. Go back a little bit more, sister. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Dark Trooper basically got launched way up into the air really quickly, which was really useful for traversal. You could get up to high elevation or go across chasms in a way that other characters couldn't.
Do it again.
But your mobility advantage was offset by only being able to fight at close range with a shotgun.
Yeah.
This is not like the last jetpack COD in the series, Black Ops 3.
Oh, wait. Let me see.
Was Star Wars Battlefront.
I thought I was going to show it again.
No, not this one. Go back a little bit more, sister. Yeah! Okay. So the
the clone troopers had something similar, like a similar unit.
Dark Trooper basically.
Like, look how fast he accelerates, like right off the ground. Let me see if I can do it one more time.
Jetpack in a shooter game was Star Wars Battlefront. No, not this one. Go back a little bit more, sister.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, look how fast this unit just takes off. This is like essentially like a vertical dash, like a get out of jail free card, essentially.
So the Dark Trooper basically got launched.
He just pops right up there.
Way up into the air really quickly, which was really useful.
Understandably, that's probably got to be really hard to track whenever you have a velocity change that drastic from like just moving and strafing left and right to just whoop, just straight up. That's so fucking good, dude. But then again, back in the day, they didn't care about fucking like balance or anything. They just want to make a fun game.
For traversal, you could get up to high elevation or go across chasms in a way that other characters couldn't. But your mobility advantage was offset by only being able to fight at close range with a shotgun.
Yeah.
This is not like the last jetpack COD in the series, Black Ops 3, which was much more floaty, kind of like a dragonfly hovering around.
Yeah. You're just a target in the air waiting to get shot down.
movement is deliberate, punchy. It has weight to it. There's stakes.
Look how fast that. Okay, so he did show it again. It's like you jump once and then you double tap jump again and you just like shoot.
Making the wrong movement tech at the wrong time. Momentum is involved, and that's essentially what Advanced Warfare was too. You can jump up, then go to the side, or go down for a little slam, and a little slide to the left. And it looks simple, but when you watch the movement lobbies of Advanced Warfare,
oh damn,
that are apparently still around in 2024.
Damn, why are people still playing this? I mean, I can understand it if they just think it's good ass fun. But dang. I never really got to like investigate or figure out like just mess around with like the Call of Duty movement with like the jetpack era, because there have been numerous first person developers that say whenever you incorporate dashes into your multiplayer shooter, it makes for an unpredictable, not so fun time for the person that does not have the dashes. But I don't care what is and is not balanced. I just want to play something that's fun, and dashing around is really fun.
You'll find that there's still a community that plays the game to this day because they just vibe with the
That's so good. That's cool. Good for them, dude.
movement. We ran a poll on the couch to see what you guys felt.
Which jetpack COD was the best? Was it Black Ops 3? Advanced Warfare or Infinite Warfare? Nobody liked Infinite Warfare. Jesus. Okay, so if I do go back, make sure to go play Black Ops 3.
And it seems to be the consensus that Black Ops 3 was the most beloved jetpack COD. Probably to nobody's surprise, Infinity Ward's entry the year after did not rank very high at all. Still boasting one of the worst like-to-dislike ratios in YouTube video history with its launch trailer. This 3-year stint of movement COD probably set the groundwork for more frustrating decisions later down the line, as the developers had a tough time trying to ascertain what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 leaned heavily into a very particular kind of vibe.
Yeah, the vibe was already made. They just remade. They didn't remake it. They just took the same era of they took the secret sauce recipe, and then they just made it again in like 2019. I loved Modern Warfare 2019, at least the campaign, and like multiplayer was okay. I spent like some time, but whenever I played Modern Warfare 2019, I tried to stop being like a console boy, and I decided to turn into like I made my own computer and just decided the other ranks of men in the M&K enjoyment club. And I not gonna lie, I sucked ass. I had no idea what I was doing, trying to figure out what was like good, what was bad, what sense to play on, what FOV, trying to figure out. And bro, trying to stream that damn game, oh my god, it was so like agonizing.
A vibe that emphasized raw, gritty, operator, tactical sorts of stuff. The game got a fresh new paint job with a new engine, and in particular, much more cinematic presentation. Reloading animations were poppy, snappy. You could feel every click, clack, patty whack with camera shakes. It was in your face and very upfront about what it was. A return to form. It was also, more importantly than anything else, not a jetpack COD.
It wasn't a jetpack COD, but god damn it, if people didn't try to make a goddamn movement shooter out of that shit, the people were gonna have it. Modern Warfare. Okay, Modern Warfare movement is perfect.
Which meant that the movement was slower. Sorry, which meant that the movement was slower.
Yeah. Which meant the movement was slower. Yes, this is the dawn of the slide cancel.
Look, I'm not mad. I don't know what's happening. Which meant that
movement is incredibly important in this game.
This is what happens when you have a momentum-based movement system in your game, and you have like something that can cancel the animation of like certain things that you're supposed to do. This is the result.
If you want to be a good player.
To be completely transparent, the person creating this video is not knocking any of the content creators that were just referenced, but it shows an example of how art style doesn't translate to gameplay mechanics, especially when you're trying to get away from a jetpack kind of sci-fi setting.
Yeah.
These guys have jetpacks. Of course they'll slide around. These guys don't.
No, no, but they have slide cancels. That's what they have. They have slide cancels. It's that one little oversight, dude. The slide cancel. What was it? I forgot how to fucking do it. Honestly, it's like you had to have. There was like, there were 3 forms of movement. There was like your walking, or your general like hip fire walking, your aim down sight walking, in strafe speed, and then you could sprint with like your gun that did like the traditional like 2-hand sprint, and then you had tactical sprint, which was like you one hand your gun and you start chugging. All right, so I think what was like the sprint slide, or not the sprint slide, the slide cancel happened when I think what was it? You went from either tactical sprint to sliding in that game, and when you slide, you preserve I think you preserved almost all of your momentum in the beginning of the slide, and then as like the slide is ending, it went from like whatever, like 100% down to like 0 or like crouch speed. There's so many like I don't know, like positions that your character can be in, and the momentum will just be either like preserved or it will be transferred or whatever. And whenever you preserve momentum, you better bet you can damn well bet that players will find every single hole in your game to try to preserve momentum and movement when you have so many just forms of that you can, so many forms of movement that you can just have in that game.
Play these kinds of games. Everybody.
But what is curious is that there were other Call of Duties before 2019 that maybe they didn't have slide canceling. They had the jetpack era or whatever, but they, in other Call of Duties, I think it was Black Ops, that they had the dolphin dive. Nobody was bitch moan complaining about people dolphin diving around corners or drop shotting. Drop shotting was in the game before the slide canceling. All right, and nobody was complaining then. But then, all of a sudden, you take it up a single notch to slide canceling, and you implement crossplay in it so that M&K can take advantage of it as well. And anytime someone's on M&K in this game, their movement is just going to look like light years ahead of like anybody on a controller, just because of the nature of the input. And then you add slide canceling into it, it's like, of course the game's going to look ridiculous. 100%.
Dad, your uncle, the manager at your gym, every dude played Call of Duty. And then dudes kind of stopped playing it.
Yeah. Vanguard.
Gaming in general became a much more mainstream hobby, but the only kinds of people who still play COD are probably just really dedicated FPS nerds.
Yeah.
It's popular, yeah, but it's not really popular in the same way it used to be. Now, there's a time investment, kind of like 40K. People want to be good at the video game.
Yeah.
And they want to feel rewarded when they make a good play. The greatest twist of irony, then, was how Call of Duty tried to establish itself in this new shift.
Mm-hmm.
By putting a certain coat of paint on the game, a certain kind of art style, but still making it very clear, this is a video game.
Yeah.
Not real life.
Yeah.
And remember, single-player campaigns used to be a pretty important component of the experience. The culture was, you played the single player, you had fun, then the multiplayer was the side product that sustained itself over time.
But for some reason, modern day Call of Duty is reverse. Multiplayer is the first and foremost. Campaign is a secondary, if anything, type of deal. And either the Spec Ops or Zombies is like a tertiary thing that you hope that the developer comes out with.
You'd throw out some map packs for a little more dough, and then on to the next one. But Call of Duty, despite changing up the mechanics a little, the basic gameplay loop, domination, search, etc., create a class.
Mm-hmm.
That was still the same. MLG trick shotters and hyper sweats were a thing back in the day, but it wasn't really cool yet. It was just kind of a...
I think it was cool back in the day. And to say that Call of Duty was not competitive back in the day, I think is just... I think that's just a lie. Call of Duty was absolutely competitive back in the day. You had MLG and Call of Duty, or you had MLG back in the day, in the early days of COD. So the argument of, oh, it's too sweaty, blah, 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 I don't really agree with that. The reason it's sweaty is because of skill-based matchmaking, which, I don't know, maybe you will or won't mention it in the rest of the video, but that does play a huge factor into the decline of Call of Duty.
A thing some kids did if they were really into it. Now, everybody consumes content
Shooting games by nature are competitive.
Online. And what looks cool in a YouTube video is what people are going to try and emulate.
Right.
So we started dropping terms like slide canceling.
Yep.
What the heck is a slide cancel?
Yep.
Yo, how do I slide cancel in this game?
Can you slide cancel in this? I don't even know.
Nah, you can't slide cancel in this one.
A slide cancel
yeah, you
is
can.
exactly what it sounds like. You go into the slide animation, then quickly reset it so you can get.
Oh yeah, it's tactical. You go from when you're in tactical sprint, which is at your fastest velocity, you go into a slide, and the slide preserves the velocity, and then you have to, what is it? The position switch when you go from like prone to crouch to like stand. I think you like double tap that or single tapped it to go back up to stand, and you could just maintain that like that tactical sprint speed and only stop whenever you have to like ADS. That's why like any gun that's another reason why Call of Duty is so sweaty. Everybody knows, well, maybe not everybody, but the meta of Call of Duty is essentially designed around submachine guns, because the submachine guns in the games have the fastest strafe speed. And when you combine a fast tactical sprint and a slide that preserves your momentum with a gun that just has really fast strafe speed, you're gonna get ran over. You are literally gonna get ran over by people.
And shoot. In the context of a shooter game, a fun little mix-up to throw your opponent's aim off. Now, when we talk about this stuff, we don't sound like we're talking about a shooter game anymore. When I think of shooter game, I think of skulking around in a bush, my positioning, my relation to the opponent, my aim, shoot, and then the kill, bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, looking at this old footage when you just showed Modern Warfare 2019 multiplayer, it's night and day. It's literally night and day.
Now I gotta do this and this at the same time? I gotta shoot and move?
Yeah.
You esports sweats are ruining my fun. The biggest component...
No. I'm not a fucking esports sweat. I'm just a casual. But shooting games are by nature just competitive. They just are.
Of the disconnect for the series started here. Because on one hand, you had a kick it and relax kind of gamer on the couch. Call of Duty to every guy's shooter. For, let's face it, people who didn't play shooter games all the time. It was supposed to be the one shooter game everybody had.
Yes.
Then the shooter game nerd, who's played everything.
Yeah.
Titanfall, Battlefield, Halo, Gears of War, Rainbow Six, who knows what else.
I mean, yeah, that is probably a slice of the pie of people that played the game. But you could have been a shooting nerd still if you were just a casual fan of Call of Duty. You know, you could have played all the Call of Duties and nothing else. And you still probably could have been like considered like a shooting nerd.
Else comes into the fray, and then suddenly you get this.
Bro, Lefty M&K, this is a unique unicorn I have found.
Casual versus esports war, and this is happening across the entire industry. We just spent 3 years trying not to make the game too inaccessible with advanced movement, to make more games where the most involved player could slip and slide all over the place and make this look a lot more like this. The immersion was broken, and we sat there growing up.
I mean, you mentioned like the core gameplay loop of like the movement and slide canceling and whatnot, but you still haven't mentioned skill-based matchmaking.
During the Call of Duty beta overnight, our childlike fascination with the virtual world gone, manipulated and twisted so that you could slide and not slide. Look what you did.
Well, nearly every industry took a financial hit this past year. The gaming world saw massive growth.
I mean, to be fair, it's immersive, or not immersive. It's emerging gameplay that the audience has discovered. If the developer didn't like that emergent gameplay, they should have patched it out from the very beginning that they saw it, but they didn't. They just left it in there. So whose fault is it really? It's the developers.
NPD reports a 33% increase in overall spending.
But Warzone in 2019 was what set the stage for Call of Duty's popular fame moving forward. We had Call of Duty Vanguard.
Yeah, I didn't play. Wasn't this the one where they tried to go back to back to World War II or whatever, but the whole like hubbub with this one is like, why is there a woman like doing combat? I mean, honestly, this doesn't really matter to me, but I guess to some people it matters, because you could have soldiers that were like women or like disabled soldiers with like a prosthetic leg or a limb or whatever. Like, this doesn't fucking matter to me. If you want to have like all these like different like DEI like people in there, I welcome it. That's fine. As long as the core gameplay loop is fun and engaging, I will like the game.
Oh, sorry. Black Ops Cold War does something a little different. Hey, let's have the new style of COD, but let's make the time to kill just a little bit longer, like it was way back in the day. So instead of 3 bullets, it's more like 4 or 5. Tracking the target means you got to have better accuracy and follow through throughout the course of the engagement.
Yeah.
Which means that if somebody can do the cool little slip and slide, there's a little more dueling. There's a little bit more combat that feels back and forth.
Yeah.
And then Modern Warfare 2 comes out again and slows everything down super slow. Basically,
Dang.
Call of Duty if it was Tarkov.
Dang,
Tarkov
really?
Duty. Fast time to kill. Slower, deliberate movement. Ish.
Mm.
And then it almost kills the franchise.
Dang.
Round and round it goes.
I have to give it to Call of Duty in that they have tried almost every formula to movement and time to kill. They have done every single solitary, like, which way of like, oh, we increase the movement, we gotta increase time to kill, or if we decrease movement, we decrease time to kill, and every which way, and like raise this bar, raise this slider a little more movement, a little less damage. And I gotta give it to them for trying literally everything. And what is this like? Is this like the twitchtracker.com on like how many people are streaming the game or just viewers? Like, god dang, it ain't looking good.
Where COD goes, nobody knows. Call of Duty was so big that it couldn't become anything specific. And it did the
Yeah, you have reached peak market saturation with Call of Duty. Much the same way as Facebook has reached, what was it, about like 5 or 6 billion people on the face of the earth know about Facebook.
the cardinal sin of AAA gaming. Trying to please everyone and pleasing
no one.
No one.
Yeah.
One talking point that permeates extensively throughout the industry is just how multiplayer games look. Whether people like it or not, Fortnite made everybody fall in line with the world of multiplayer microtransactions.
Yep.
And if you can cut a deal with a corporation to represent Warhammer,
Fortnite probably perfected it, but the originator was there's two sources. Well, one, more or less. There were microtransactions in MapleStory way back in the day, and in Elder Scrolls Oblivion with the horse armor. Those were the original microtransactions in video games. Fortnite simply perfected it with the battle pass, the store, and all this other shit.
For 40K, you're going to do it. But Fortnite didn't really have a particularly specific art theme direction. Call of Duty did. Multiplayer matches of Call of Duty were pretty simply laid out. Here's a map. What are the two appropriate factions here? It's the Russians versus the Germans.
Mm-hmm.
Each faction even had a unique track that would play before you rolled into battle.
Oh, yeah.
Uniforms to each of those factions.
I love the music with these like old ass games with like the different countries and whatnot, because at the core of it, it was like mostly like metal. It was like, this is USA metal, this is German metal, or this is the Russian metal, or not metal, but like, or sometimes it was like not orchestra, orchestraic, if that's a word, like type of like little intro and whatnot. And in this game, every time you leveled up, you got that classic guitar riff of like, wah, 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 wah.
Actions.
Capture the objectives.
Nowadays, Call of Duty may play up the cinematic vibe a little bit. It does so in the single-player campaigns, but it tends to be this way only at the beginning of the new release. As the game ages, people buy...
Oh, Homelander joins Call of Duty.
I have a new anime skin, the new esports skin, and all sorts of flashy and shiny colors, shiny, colorful bullets, assassination animations,
The boys.
entire cosmetic kits that are designed around a certain design theme. It's not to say that they're not creative. They certainly are. One creative nod to FPS gaming history features the game's double-barrel shotgun, operated and animated like the one from the classic 90s FPS game Doom.
Yeah.
Complete with the sounds, jerky frame rate, animations, and
That's
everything
so
else in
funny.
between. But most of the skins usually just consist of taking XYZ gun and making it pink or blue or red or based off a famous superhero or something.
Oh,
Cosmetics
shit.
have taken a decidedly strong seat in front of the vibe. The tactical,
Yeah.
Oscar Mike, over and out.
Yeah. I mean, are the cosmetics in Call of Duty good? You know, I try to get like a feel, like a temperature check on like what each respective like FPS game that it's at least you know, either live service or multiplayer or whatever. You know, I try to get a temperature check on whether or not that community thinks the skins are worth it or not. And in general, the general consensus is the skins are almost never worth the price that are attached to them.
Out vibe. It doesn't affect gameplay. It just feels weird.
Yeah.
That weird disconnected feeling is just kind of...
Oh yeah, whenever you're playing Call of Duty and then all of a sudden you see like Snoop Dogg or Nicki Minaj do a slide around, like they jump, slide, cancel around the corner and then just drop shot you. Yeah.
Icky. That's all there is to it. There's no particularly empirical metric about it. Something's just kind of off. It feels like the identity, the heart of the game just isn't really there anymore. And sure, the game is fun if you really, really do like the gameplay. It's bizarre to consider how we got here in the first place. Modern Warfare 3 doubled down on the demand for faster pace, flashy movement, and longer time to kill after the series spent several years deciding whether or not it wanted...
Yeah, and the thing with time to kill is like when you reduce time to kill, it makes it so more people can feel like they're good at the game, but it kind of alienates the hardcore audience, the people that play the game in, day out, in that, you know, day 1 bro can kill like day 300 bro, and the argument is like, oh, it's okay because everybody can kill anybody at any one time. But then on the opposite side of that, like you increase time to kill, well, then only the hardcore people that play the game day in, day out are going to be able to kill like anything to like hold their reticle on the guy for long enough if it's like a 5-shot kill on average, and the day 1 bro isn't going to be able to kill anything. So whatever the formula they got now, I mean, I don't know how it's performing or whatever. I don't really pay attention to Call of Duty. Like I used to like it, but I just wanted to watch this because it's, you know, it's interesting to me, and there's still like a little spot in me that likes Call of Duty, but I don't know.
Flashy movement. Modern Warfare 3 ended up releasing on a 1.5 year long turnaround. So it begs a better question. How come Activision Blizzard was so disconnected from the ground game of its production? Call of Duty is a massive license, and as many problems show in terms of size attribution of games. If the game is too big...
Bro, the budget is 250 to 300 million. That's that's about on par to be like movie status. You can make a movie with that budget.
You can end up with too many cooks in the kitchen and a lack of a clear vision and lack of a creative approach.
Yeah.
Comparatively, Helldivers 2 is killing just about every shooter game on the market.
Yeah.
At least for now, with a modest dev team for a $40 release.
Yeah.
And the Finals, a relatively new free-to-play game, has attracted a modest following for a fraction of the development costs of your typical blockbuster Call of Duty game.
Yep.
It seems that nowadays, Call of Duty is a lot like Marvel movies. There were some beloved Marvel movies, and some of the ones in the formula later...
That's a really good analogy. Call of Duty is like Marvel movies. All the good ones happened like years ago, and now we're just in like phase like 4 or 5 of the Marvel MCU, and it's just dog shit.
Later on down the road, still did really well and were universally praised and respected. Cultural staples. But when's the last time you've heard someone talk about a Marvel license recently.
Not
Dune
really.
Part 2 was made.
Anytime I hear anyone talk about the Marvel license, it's what did they just spit out that did poorly in the box office? That's the only time I hear something about Marvel.
With a little under $200 million, with a smaller budget than Ant-Man and the Wasp. Call of Duty represents more than just aspects of the gaming industry that need critical attention. It represents just what not to do to remain sustainable in the entertainment industry. It's emblematic of what happens when talented, passionate devs are stuck at the beck and call of a large conglomerate decision-making process that is disconnected from what's going on inside the building, what's happening in the day-to-day. Is it possible for Call of Duty to get back to where it sort of was? Is it possible?
I don't know. I mean, I would hope so, but is it going to happen in the immediate future? Probably not. Could it? The chance is there, but I mean, Call of Duty is a huge money-making machine. I don't see it changing in any way, shape, or form.
For that passion to return. We're just gonna have to wait.
Yep.
And see.
Forward area clear.
To my knowledge, isn't Call of Duty Mobile like way more popular than like any like console or PC Call of Duty? I think more people play COD Mobile than any of the core installments of the game. Dang. Yeah.
Coast is clear.
The stealth mission, so good. Dude, this is a good ass video. Like with like, you know, it's good like looking at a little retrospective of Call of Duty. With either like the stylistic vibe of it, the multiplayer, the campaign, and everything like that. I mean, could they come back? I mean, the possibility is there, but like, what's that scene in like Dumb and Dumber where like the dude's like, is there any chance that you would marry me or something, or you would go out with me? She's like, there's a 1 in a million chance. It's like, and the dude's just sitting there like, so you're saying there's a chance? It's probably along that in terms of like possibility of like Call of Duty coming back and being good or whatever. But I mean, it's at this point, it's whatever. I mean, I don't really try to like shit on the game or whatever. I just give my 2 cents on it and then just be done with it. If it's good, if a game comes out and it's good, I'll play it. But if not, it just passes by me for whatever. But yeah, this was a good ass video. I liked it. Even though it's supposed to be like the depressing decline of Call of Duty, you did a really good job. I mean, you didn't mention like skill-based matchmaking, but it's whatever. It's just a small facet of what keeps a lot of people either in or out from playing COD. Yeah, good video. I want to see more, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, peace.